Good morning.
Morning.
We have enough people to begin.
Carol, we look okay for?
Yeah, we've got
It looks like it to me. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mayor's Council meeting of Thursday, November 28th, 2024. Before I begin, I just want to acknowledge the Indigenous nations on whose treaty and unceded territories we are fortunate to live, work, and operate. First item is the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? And carried. Next is approval of the public meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? And carried. All right, next item is election of chair and vice chair. And for the purpose of chairing this item, starting with the election of chair, I'm going to recommend that we ask our recording secretary and corporate secretary, Carol Lee, to act as chair. So can I have that motion? Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Over to you, Carol.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Before we begin, I just want to review the rules of procedure for the conduct of the election of the chair and vice chair. Any council member? I'm off. Oh, good, okay. Okay, any council member may be nominated for the position of chair or vice chair. If more than one person is nominated for the positions, a vote will be taken by secret ballot, which will determine the outcome. The election of the chair and vice chair will be determined on the basis of one vote per council member and delegate present at this meeting. As this is a hybrid meeting, ballots will be distributed to those attending in person. Those attending virtually will register their votes on the Zoom poll. I will count the paper votes and Mike will monitor the poll, and then we will switch to confirm the votes and announce the results. The chair and vice chair who are elected will hold office commencing immediately until December 31st of next year. So nominations for the office of the chair of the Mayor's Council are now open. Is there a nomination? Mayor Brody?
I'll nominate Brad West.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor West, do you accept the nomination?
I do, with thanks.
Thank you. Is there a second nomination? Calling for a third nomination? As there are no further nominations, may I have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. There being no further nominations, Mayor West is elected as the Mayor's Council Chair by acclamation. Congratulations. Would you like to conduct the Vice Chair election?
Well, that first one went so well, I'm going to let you carry on.
I had a feeling that was going to happen. Okay. Any nominations for the position of Vice Chair? Mayor West.
I nominate Malcolm Brody.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Mayor Brody, do you agree?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second nomination? Third and final call for nominations? There being no further nominations, may I have a motion to close the nominations? Seconder? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Mayor Brody is acclaimed to the position of Vice Chair of the Mayor's Council to hold office until December 31st, 2025. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for your confidence. Got lots of work to do.
That's my part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. All right, that'll take us to public delegates. We have one today, and that is Nathan Davidich. Please come forward, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair and members. My name is Nathan Davidovich, and the Clean BC targets will not be achieved by TransLink. The report in front of you trying to claim that they will achieve it, but they will not. The Clean BC annual report will confirm that when it's released sometime in December. And I've sent you various links and videos. The TransLink report talks about does not talk about achieving the various election platforms that were discussed in the 2024 election. TransLink plans access for everyone as well as Transport 2050 are missing many items. You need to change those plans to confirm with the better idea proposed in Connecting BC by the BC Federation of Labor. The new minister, Mike Fernvoet, he voted against the TransLink New Act in 2007. Now he has the power to reverse back to the original TransLink. And that's basically what the mayors have been asking since 2008. And the provincial government didn't want to do it. In today's Vancouver Sun, there's an article, Metro Vancouver faces an external crisis. Well, Metro Vancouver is the father of TransLink, and that's the whole problem. Is regional government and what services are we providing to the people? And if the media will dig further into this article and include TransLink and its 10 operating companies, they'll find that the same thing is with TransLink. And, you need to, I presume, meet with the new minister and find out, but I'll just mention a couple of the platform things by the Green Party to double the bus fleet in 3 years, triple in 6 years, and the NDP platform of helping seniors get around with free off-peak transit, which you don't have in your plans. So amend your plans before you go and meet with the minister to confirm what it is that the BC government wants. Well, thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much for speaking to the Mayor's Council this morning. All right, the next item is the report of chair. I just want to begin by thanking my colleagues for their continued confidence in me as chair and Mayor Brody as vice chair. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we achieved over the last year against very significant odds. You'll recall that there was a time where it looked like we were not going to be able to achieve the albeit modest investment, but investment nonetheless that this body was very successful in having occur. And I know for a fact that if it weren't for the efforts of the mayors and colleagues around this table, that our system would be in much worse shape today than it currently is. So our efforts have been making a difference, and I thank all of you for the support and the leadership that you displayed in making that possible. At the same time, all of us, I think, have eyes wide open about the current state of our system. It's under significant strain and pressure. I don't need to tell anyone here the story of TransLink in Metro Vancouver. You know what we're facing. Significant funding challenges, huge pressure, big demands on the system in terms of ridership, and forever, it appears, and hopefully this changes. The province has done the same thing over and over, and we haven't gotten different results. And I'm hopeful that this will be the moment where we can finally address one of this region's longest standing issues, which is putting TransLink on a path for financial sustainability, providing it the adequate funding model it needs to deliver the services that we require. It is really, in my view, that simple. We have a report that is going to propose a 15% increase in bus service over the next 3 years, 3 new BRTs, SkyTrain bus loop upgrades, and new funding for cycling, walking, and road infrastructure. These are things that our region needs at a time when the province is pressuring us for more and more housing density. Transit infrastructure is not a nice to have, it is a must have. And it is no longer tenable to continue to have our communities absorb this level of population growth without the corresponding increases in our transit service. We have grown our region by 250,000 people since 2019, and yet over that same period of time, transit service levels are unchanged. We need the province to step up in a meaningful way to match their words with action. The clock is ticking. If the province fails to act in this moment, I think the mayors are going to have to seriously consider our continued role in TransLink's governance. If the province does not provide us the tools to get the job done, then what are we all doing here? I'm very pleased that someone well known to me has been appointed our new minister, and I congratulate Mike Farnworth. I think congratulate is the right term. We'll see. I congratulate the MLA for Port Coquitlam, Mike Farnworth, his appointment. I've already had early discussions with him. I think he understands the picture very well, and I hope that he is able to do the work that he needs to do within government to get support to act in a way that is required to fix a long-standing problem that has been kicked down the road innumerable times with no more road to kick it down. And so I look forward to engagement with him and support from my colleagues and engagement with my colleagues over a very short period of time over the next several months to be able to bring to this body a plan that will allow us to move forward. I know that it will be difficult, but it is absolutely possible. It is absolutely possible if the provincial government has the will. And so I'm hopeful that by the time of our next meeting in January, we'll be able to provide an update that demonstrates real progress towards our goals. And until then, along with the Vice Chair, we'll continue to work hard at it. That is my report. If there's any questions or comments, so welcome those. If not, motion to receive. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, next is a report of TransLink management. Mr. Quinn.
All right. Am I controlling this? I guess I will. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here today. Just want to offer my congratulations to Chair West, Vice Chair Brody. Really looking forward to continuing to work with you to solve TransLink's funding challenges. I'm good. In my management report today, I'll be providing updates on our progress this past year as we continue to deliver for customers while addressing the funding gap. As you're all keenly aware, and as Chair West has noted, there's only 5 months left until we need an approved 2025 investment plan. That's a tight deadline to fix our unsustainable funding model and address the legislative limitations that are holding us back from establishing new revenue streams. While we continue to do everything in our power to tighten our belts and put every dollar possible towards delivering service, we're also going to continue to work alongside this Mayor's Council and all levels of government to secure a long-term solution. We've already started conversations with Minister Farnworth, the new Minister of Transportation and Transit, and I understand that Minister Farnworth was at the table when TransLink was created, a moment in our region's history that has transformed how we move people and goods for the better. And now, at a similar inflection point, I know the minister is as committed as we are to finding a solution. I'm also looking forward to maintaining our longstanding relationship with the province as we shape the future of our region. And as we continue to work on securing a funding solution, I would be remiss not to highlight how we've been making modest but meaningful improvements to the transit system in 2024. Thanks to this council's support, our Stopgap 2024 investment plan set the stage for the year, enabling us to add 85,000 desperately needed service hours, decreasing some of the overcrowding experienced by our customers. And while this was a critical first step, the demand on our system still outpaces the resources, underscoring the need for more immediate action. These service improvements included expanded service on Route 609 to Tsawwassen First Nation, delivering transit services and improving access for Indigenous communities. The new R6 Scott Road Rapid Bus also began service, providing space for 20% more customers and is saving riders south of the Fraser 20 minutes in their commutes. On top of this, we improved safety, capacity, and convenience for riders in North Vancouver by opening the newly upgraded Phibbs Exchange. We're still on our way to achieving net zero emissions. We've begun converting our fleet to renewable diesel, reducing 12,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions over the fuel life cycle this year. We've also made strides in generating income that can be invested back into our system, with our first project under our real estate development program being greenlit for development. We continue to improve cycling, walking, and rolling infrastructure so folks can easily and sustainably complete their daily travel and connect to the transit system. Since 2019, we've expanded Metro Vancouver's regional bikeway network to nearly 5,000 kilometers. And this means that nearly 70% of people in Metro Vancouver now live within 400 meters of bikeways that are fully separated from traffic or on shared roadways with lower speed limits and traffic volumes. Not only is this more comfortable for all road users, but it is safer. Investment in cycling infrastructure has reduced collisions involving cyclists by more than 10%. In the next couple of days, we'll be releasing an updated State of Cycling in Metro Vancouver report developed in partnership with Hub Cycling. And it highlights just how much well-connected bikeways enhance livability for residents of all ages. Understanding where we're at today will help deliver the bold vision outlined in the Access for Everyone plan while continuing to work closely with regional partners and with all of you. These achievements from the last year have helped us continue to lead the way, not only with one of the highest rates of trips made by walking and cycling in Canada, but also in transit ridership. In fact, we have the second highest ridership per capita in Canada, ahead of Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, a huge transformation in how our region moves from 20 years ago. Across bus, SkyTrain, HandyDART, and CBus, we're moving nearly 1 million people each week. That is equivalent to 1/3 of our population. And whether or not you take transit, more than 90% of residents agree that we're vital to the well-being of our region. Last week, I provided my annual address to the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade, and it really focused on just that. Transit isn't just about connecting people from A to B. It drives our economy. It connects people to opportunity. It is a catalyst for a healthy, prosperous region. Metro Vancouverites not only expect but deserve access to public transit that is affordable, that is safe, and that is reliable. And I'm talking about moms and dads who depend on the bus to take their kids to daycare, to school, and activities, tradespeople, students, teachers, nurses, and office workers who rely on the SkyTrain to get them to and from their jobs and classes, or even tourists that, like the ones we'll be welcoming next weekend with Taylor Swift in town. Their experience using transit will have a huge impact on their connection to everything this region has to offer. And we owe it to all of our customers to ensure that we have a transit system that meets demand and that is safe and reliable. We simply can't do this with last-minute investments. We need to be proactive. And I know there are some big decisions ahead that will impact everyone in our region as we prepare for our next investment plan, which I know Sarah will be talking about later this morning. But I also know, and I've heard from this council directly, that access to every corner of the region is needed now more than ever. I am very optimistic for our future, and as we keep working with you and with all levels of government to secure a solution, we're going to continue to do what we do best, and that's deliver great service every single day, earning your trust and the trust of the region. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Quinn. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I get a motion to receive? It's been moved, seconded. All's in favor? Opposed and carried. All right, that'll take us to the consent agenda. Kind of a mover and seconder. Moved and seconded. Does anyone wish to remove anything? Councillor Asmussen.
Thank you, Chair West. I'd like to pull 6171, please.
Okay, Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, there's nothing left on the consent agenda, so just pass it anyways. How's that? Those in favor, opposed, carried. All right. 6.11, 2025 Investment Plan Zero Emissions Update. Councillor Asmussen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair West. The concerns lines in the 2040 timeline, given the uncertainty in vehicle technology we'll be seeing in the 20s and 30s, the high cost, limitations, and availability, I think it merits consideration that this target should really align then with our 2050 goal of zero GHGs. Also, as Ms. Quinn pointed out earlier, renewables continue to be a viable way to bridge this time, to take a slower, more cost-effective way to get to that goal. There's no need to rush. So that's my one point on that. My second point on this one is the municipal partners to champion en route charging infrastructure. My municipal staff has had no discussions or anything about this, and the stations en route, they're costly a type of infrastructure to add. So there would be, before we go out there and ask for municipal partners, we should have been talking to our municipal partners about it first. So that's a communication issue that we need to do. While it might be what we want, how's that going to impact our municipal partners? That's all for 6.1.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I will afford staff an opportunity to respond if they wish.
Thank you, Councillor Asmussen. I would just say that, you know, the battery electric bus and the transition that we have is fast moving. Technology is changing very rapidly. Batteries are changing very rapidly. We're going to continue on our path. You know, we have our Marpole Transit Center that's under development. We're going to continue to pursue that. I think we're on a path to meet a lot of these GHG goals. You've raised a lot of very valid concerns, though, that this is a fast-moving area. You've also raised a great point in our coordination with municipal partners, which is going to be also absolutely key to making this happen. So happy to follow up with you, perhaps on a couple of these points, just to dig in a little further with you.
And I guess my one other point on the zero emission has been that when we've analyzed it for previously, that we're looking at least a 15% more cost effectiveness. And I asked before about keeping with regular fuel sources, natural gas and diesel, with renewables, that we could put probably 15% more service on the road. And holistically, how much regional GHGs would be more effective than investing in all this. I mean, it sounds great, but can we achieve more by going the other way? And I would like to have that analysis brought. I've asked for it before, and I think this board needs to have that information. Are we making the right investment? Is this the right technology? Will it be in the future the right technology? And we also know that the cost and availability to get in the line, I mean, we just realized, well, take a shot at the province. We didn't get what we needed to buy enough buses in the future, and the lead time on them, and the lead time on the electric could be even longer unless you want to pay a premium to jump the queue, and I don't think we should be doing that. So I'll leave that one at that, but thank you, Mr. Quinn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Sager.
Just following up on that question, are there serious studies going into hydrogen buses? Yeah, I've just been a bit fascinated by looking at the technology, and is that something that?
It's something that we'd like to explore in the future. I think from our perspective, we'd like to take a don't put our eggs in one basket solely kind of approach. We are looking at transitioning most of our diesel buses to battery electric vehicles. Hydrogen is very specific to a certain type of vehicle profile, so specifically a lot of highway travel, and so it could be useful in the future. There are several systems in the US that have a pretty big hydrogen fleets, but it's a lot of kind of long haul travel. So I would suggest, you know, we want to have the right vehicle for the right type of trip, right? And so part of the work that we have to do is sort of match that up, as well as when that technology is appropriate. So it's a long way of saying, yes, hydrogen is likely in our future. It's something we're still evaluating.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Director McCutcheon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report. I guess I encourage staff to keep looking for ways that we can be reducing our emissions. As a previous speaker said, the technology in the space is moving quickly, and I think that's going to be a real positive for us. On the renewable natural gas in particular, do we know what percent of our natural gas that's going into these vehicles is renewable?
I believe that I think we're at 100% at this point. Is all of our natural gas is renewable natural gas. Yes. I'm happy to follow up with a confirmation of that.
Okay, maybe it's my misunderstanding. I thought that the lines were mixed and therefore like mixed fossil natural gas and renewable natural gas, but maybe we have our own specific lines.
I think we've switched over, but please let me follow up with you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I did want to note that in reading the report, the analysis does focus heavily on TransLink's operations and maintenance from a region-wide perspective, suggesting that battery electric buses are preferred to trolleys due to lower maintenance costs. But I will also note the report's a bit unclear at this point on the long-term plans for trolley buses. And from the City of Vancouver perspective, it will impact us differently than other municipalities, as a large portion of the bus fleet within Vancouver has a pretty extensive network of overhead and energy distribution. So I just wanted to reflect that I think a holistic assessment of the overall life cycle cost is really important, because we could see transfer of infrastructure costs and other considerations between municipality and TransLink that would need to be taken into consideration going from the ABs to trolleys. And that might mean things like incorporating pavement upgrades, maintenance, that kind of thing. I'd also note that the impact, and probably more information is needed as we go through the analysis with respects to the impact of charging infrastructure and upgrades to on-street bus layovers, termini, that kind of thing. I know the Marpole piece was mentioned. These things take a while to come to fruition. So just noting that these are things I think, from wearing my Vancouver hat as well as my hat here, that I think are going to be important as that analysis continues.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move a receipt.
Receipt has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that will take us to our final item, which is the 2025 investment plan, target investment plan scope. Turn it over to Sarah.
Good morning.
Oh, pardon me. No, this is 7.1. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you. This past, as you've noted, this past April, the Mayor's Council approved a one-year bridging plan. And that stopgap measure was primarily designed to fund immediate increases to bus services to help address critical overcrowding on the transit system. This past July, we provided a report to the Mayor's Council on the scale of the transit service cuts that will be required if a solution to our structural funding deficit is not confirmed by this upcoming spring. And work is now well underway on the development of the 2025 investment plan. The first objective of this plan is to resolve the structural funding gap, avoid transit cuts, and return TransLink to the balanced budgets we had before the pandemic hit. Which is now almost 5 years ago. And the second objective is to advance the first phase of the Access for Everyone plan so that we aren't just avoiding cuts, but that we're actually able to respond to growth and make progress on meeting the needs of this growing and diverse region. The purpose of the report in your package today is to confirm which elements of the Access for Everyone plan should be advanced for funding in the 2025 investment plan. The scope and the associated costs and funding required outlined in this report is consistent with what was included in the Mayor's Council election platform. With the support of this body, we anticipate bringing forward a full draft 2025 investment plan for your approval in April 2025. There are further details in the report and the attached slides. I know you have all reviewed this material, and so I don't need to go through the slides. Andrew and I are happy to take any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Mayor Harvey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could ask staff just a couple of questions with regards to the report, and appreciate that we can make more decisions in April of 2025 when you come back. I notice, and I'm speaking on behalf of the South of Fraser users of the road system and transit, just for your information, it took me about an hour and 30 minutes to get here today. And I just talked to a family member who returned from the airport. It was over almost 2 hours to get through the single lane heading south this morning. And where I'm going with this is I continue to see no mention of a plan with regards to the George Massey Tunnel opening and with the dedicated bus lanes and how we can move more efficiently and quickly people through the 99 corridor. So my question, Mr. Chair, to the staff, if I could, is when will we be seeing the George Massey Tunnel mentioned insofar as a project concentrating on the 2030 opening? I'd also like to ask if you've had any recent meetings with the staff from the province with regards to the George Massey Tunnel project.
Thank you very much for your question. Certainly, we've noted that that is a key bottleneck in the region and is a very significant issue for people traveling through that corridor. It is a provincial asset, and and so that is why it's not identified in any of our in this plan. Certainly, we do have transit priority access to the head of the tunnel entrance today, so many transit customers actually experience less delay than people who need to be traveling by vehicle. And our expectation is that level of transit priority will be maintained and ideally enhanced as that replacement project advances. But I would have to refer more detailed questions on the status of that work to provincial staff.
So we have a number of buses already traveling on Highway 99.
Correct.
But just for your information, the HOV bus lane combined at the entrance of the tunnel heading north, it's backed up too. So the situation is not getting any better. But isn't the responsibility of TransLink and the Mayor's Council here and the TransLink Board to work with partnership with the province to ensure that we're utilizing those bus lanes in a most efficient manner and also increasing the number of buses, perhaps, I hope?
Absolutely. We want to work with all of our partners, all the road authorities, including the Ministry of Transportation and Transit now, to enhance the access and transit priority and reduce delay to people who are taking the bus.
So should it not be mentioned in the 2025 document that at least that it's going to be studied and worked on with our provincial partner?
That is certainly something that we can include.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Harvey.
Thank you.
Mayor Locke.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to thank staff for the attachment one. I think it was certainly very helpful to me in navigating this. But I just wanted to make a couple of comments. And the first one is that we all recognize we're at this time of fiscal challenges and restraint. And I look at some of the asks, and I think we need to break this down a little bit. We need to break it down to what are the must-haves and what are the nice-to-haves. And I see a number of things in the plan that we could probably put on the nice-to-have, and those are issues around streets and roads. Bikeways, walkways, sidewalks. Certainly, we're already doing those in our municipality, and it just seems to have to me to be something that at this time it would be more of a nice to have. But I do want to just jump off what Mayor Harvey said, and that is, or I believe he said, in thinking about the growth in the region, Mr. Chair, you spoke about that as well. I really do think there needs to be a significant focus on those growth areas. And I'm not so sure that this is going to address the growth areas. So I guess what I would like to see from this is that there is a kind of a breakdown of those issues that we must see immediately. We know the fiscal position we are in. We know we need to secure a funding model, but I think it is we need. It's always great to ask for the gold standard, but I think at this time we have to look at maybe the silver model. And so I think we need to take a look at what we can put on a second tier of asks, because my concern is that at some point government is going to look at this and say, pick something off that is not going to address the need in the region. And I'll give you just a quick example from Surrey's perspective, but as Mayor Harvey talked about, the South Fraser and other areas of large growth like Maple Ridge, we know that our access to transit is nowhere close in Surrey. It's something like 13 out of 20 of the most traveled routes that are over capacity are right here in Surrey. I'm sure other communities are feeling those same pinches. So for us, I just think something that is realistic about strictly moving people, and I think some of these issues are more of a luxury than about moving people. So I wondered if we could split it into two levels of ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Locke. I'll ask Sarah Ross to comment on this.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mayor Locke. And certainly this scope is what we've outlined as a proposed 1/3 first phase is a starting point for your consideration, and we can certainly provide further detail and analysis on prioritization if that's requested. I will note you mentioned the great work being done at the municipal level on cycling and walking and road safety. I will note that the majority of what's outlined in the scope in those areas are to support municipalities in that work and to provide direct funding that enables the municipalities. So it's not TransLink directly doing this, it's TransLink supporting municipalities in that space.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Asmussen.
Yes, thank you very much. Just a series of questions. The rail service, we're adding cars, but from what I've read in reports that the ridership hasn't recovered since COVID. So is that necessary, or is it based on future projections?
So the rail service, there's a few different things. I mean, our ridership has recovered and while and certainly has recovered in certain times of day and in different ways. And so there's definitely, while there are areas where maybe the ridership still remains a little bit less, there are other areas where the ridership is significantly higher. And by areas, I mean locations, but I also mean days or times. So what we do, and this is laid out to be a 10-year investment plan, we do projections as well as where the forecasted growth will be. And so the rail service proposed here is to increase peak frequencies to address the forecasted ridership growth, although and forecasted overcrowding, particularly on the Expo and Millennium lines, but on the Canada line we are experiencing overcrowding today. So we also need to, and we do have some more trains coming into service under our 2025 budget.
That's mostly for the West Coast Express is what I'm talking about.
Oh, on the West Coast Express.
West Coast Express, I'm sorry.
And, ridership is recovering on the West Coast Express, so this is to anticipate that future with the length of time to get rail cars in place in anticipation of future ridership growth.
Okay. Next, bus service improvements, 960,000 annual service or ASH. When we look at a breakdown, there are over 54,000 annual service in the North Shore, 11% of the total, compared to the Tri-Cities, which is 4% of the total. The Tri-Cities has a population of 274,000, the North Shore 214,000. There needs to be more service, particularly to increase the frequencies so it becomes a desirable service. An example is our transportation people. This Coquitlam are previously from Surrey. They did an analysis on some of the routes in Surrey and why they're overcrowding. It's because a number of years ago they got frequency improvements. Frequency improvement directly relates to increased ridership, and some of the overcrowding from their analysis is because of the increased frequency. In the Tri-Cities, our frequency is very limited, between maximum of 15 minutes, half hour to hour service. It's hard to drive service. So that's one area I think that I would, and on that, I have significant concerns for my community, the lack of improvements to Burke Mountain, including the necessary hours and extended frequency. We have a growing population up there that we would like to reduce the amount of traffic coming out of there, and there's no mention of service improvements in the plan for that area, especially with the new Burke Mountain Secondary School opening up shortly. The village center is going to be, a community center is going to be up and running shortly. The other part that seems from my counselors is that I would ask a clarifying question on this also, but we're going to invest in putting service into the new Widgeon Metro Park, but a major growth community area, we're not going to be putting any increased service, which is a major growth area in Coquitlam. And particularly now when areas where high-rise development is struggling, mid-rise townhousing, which is most of Burke Mountain, is advancing quickly and selling quickly. So that population's there and growing fast. The other question I would like to know is, we've had discussions about this in Coquitlam a number of times, the Metro Park, and the initial that the Metro was going to putting in their own shuttle and paying for it. Is Metro paying for this service, or is TransLink paying for this service to Widgeon?
Thank you very much for your comments. I will need to follow up on your last specific question because I'm not sure of the detail on that, but we can follow up on that. I will say what we have outlined in this report is a proposed 15% increase in transit service. That is constrained by what we're calling the maximum operationally feasible. You're very aware of the constraints that we have in terms of our current depot capacity. As you earlier mentioned, the time it takes to buy buses. So we have outlined a proposal of what we think we could maximally deliver over the sort of first few years, 2025, 6, 7, 8 approximately. And so we've outlined here some objectives that we know exist for improving service. So, improving frequencies to make it more convenient for people, and also to address overcrowding, to get the bus rapid transit lines implemented, but also to serve unserved and underserved areas. And we know also improving access to all the amazing natural spaces, parks that we've got in our region. So we have done some preliminary identification of where exactly how that the service could be distributed, but we would continue to work with yourselves, with municipal staff, with our transit planners before we're fully refining exactly what routes are getting exactly what level of service, if this plan were to be approved.
I brought this because I did raise this in the planning committee meeting previously, and we talked about overcrowding. And one thing, I know you don't like, but the service optimization, because of overcrowding different areas, removing service out of areas, or always focusing on the overcrowding areas, which is an issue. But as you said, the lower riding suburban areas that need frequency and services don't get it. So we don't get the chance to increase our service for our residents because it's not frequent enough to be desirable. So that's an ongoing problem. The other thing I want to point out again is, it's been 25 years plus now that Coquitlam is advocating for a bus between Surrey and Coquitlam. The ability to get from Surrey to Coquitlam is you take a bus to Coquitlam Centre, from Coquitlam Centre to Lougheed Mall, to Lougheed Mall, from Lougheed Mall to the Expo line, to Columbia Station, from Columbia Station, a SkyTrain to Surrey, then a bus. And a bus directly would make that, but it's been 25 years or more that we've been, and never gets put on a plan.
We recognize that there is a huge variety of needs across the region. We have a very diverse region. There are some places that have high frequency but very crowded service. There are some places that the service doesn't come frequently enough. So we've laid out an initial proposal to try to take a balanced approach to meeting these various needs. We can't, to borrow a term from my CEO earlier, we can't put all our eggs in one basket either and in how we allocate service. So this is certainly a proposal in trying to balance, recognizing that there are areas that need more frequency to make it more convenient. There are areas where, there's no service at all that needs service. There's routing that needs improvements. In fact, we are doing a deep dive work in one area of the region right now to improve sort of some of the connections, because sometimes there's lots of opportunities to do better with what we've got as well. Maybe not lots, but some. So we're always looking for those as well. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
And I guess taking a comment from Mayor Locke, nice to
Councillor
have.
Asmussen,
Pardon?
I think I'm going to go to the other speakers and maybe come back to you, just being respectful of everyone having an opportunity to make their comments. And before I move on, I will just note, while I appreciate the granular inputs about community needs, and certainly I have my own that I could contribute, we're not there yet. Let's try and go get a big pie before we fight over who gets what piece of the pie. So, Mr. Buda, maybe I'll just, if you have anything you'd like to add before we carry on.
You probably said it more succinctly than I would.
All
but
right,
yes,
thank you very much.
there you go. But look, as Sarah just mentioned, this is the maximum feasibly delivered scope of new projects and services that Transit could deliver that falls within delivering the first third of the Access of Everyone plan, which is what you asked TransLink staff to come up with a plan to deliver. We will not be able to deliver more than what's in this report. TransLink can't do more. Obviously, you can move things around a little bit, but almost certainly we will not be delivering everything that's in here because, of course, how much of what is in here we deliver will come down to how much funding we're able to secure from senior governments and the region. So this is not a final report or final scope. This is actually the first step in a long iterative process.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Rumi.
Well, thanks. You answered my question on clarifying what are we doing here right now. When I go through the list, obviously there's one very small project, but it's extremely important to Maple Ridge, and I'm hoping that we're not going to be sitting here, and I think you've clarified that, and say, well, what are we going to pick out? What are we going to throw away? Because if we are going to start doing that today, then you're going to have people advocating for what they need. So I like what I'm seeing. Yes, financial is always going to be an issue here, but do I need to be concerned that the next time I see this, my project is going to be knocked out? Like, where and how are these projects going to be decided on? Trying to understand this process here.
Mr. Buda.
At this point, the answer to your question will depend entirely on the funding agreement that we secure with the provincial government, senior government funding we secure from the federal government, and then regional funding. So there's always two sides to this coin. We haven't yet really started working in the funding side because we're waiting for the new government to get back to us. But this is, as Sarah mentioned at the beginning, this is none of this is new. This was part of our ask of all provincial parties in the provincial election. This is what you have said, TransLink has said, is what's required to respond to population growth and support economic growth and housing objectives and all the rest. So this is essentially our proposal to the provincial government in particular on the kinds of new services and projects we need to support the region But we'll then have to decide how much we collectively, the province and TransLink and the Mayor's Council, how much we can afford to deliver now versus having to delay. So it will depend entirely on the decisions made around funding, which will
So-
happen in the next few months.
So just as a quick follow-up then, once we're able to understand where money's coming from, is it at that point that we can have the conversation in amongst ourselves and start supporting the projects that are important to our communities as well, understanding that we're a regional unit, but I just want to make sure that that opportunity does not escape us.
It will not escape you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Mayor Buchanan.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the report. I just want to reiterate because Mayor West or Chair West, I think you said what I was going to say, but maybe a little bit more succinctly, but don't cut me off because I do want to comment. When I read the executive summary, second paragraph, the purpose of this item is to confirm that this scope, as was included in the Mayor's Council election platform, should be advanced for consideration in overall discussions on funding for the next investment plan. Our council has been very intentional, strategic. We have been very focused, and we have actually had success in parties putting public transit onto their platforms because of what we've done. This is now at the stage where we are going to rely on our chair and our vice chair and our continued work with our local MLAs to keep advancing this ball and get the funding that we need. And then I certainly appreciate my colleagues who want more information. So when we get to that point, when we may have to make decisions, that we can have that information at hand. But from my perspective, I think we are all in agreement that we want to be able to advance all of this work because that is what we're telling our senior levels of government or other levels of government. This is what we need in order to make this region livable as we continue to absorb all this growth. So I think we need to continue to be very aligned, every single one of us, in the work that we've done, have been successful with, and that we need to continue to do that. Anything else is actually going to, I believe, interfere in our ability to negotiate appropriately for what we want. So I think we've done really well, and we need to continue to do really well, and we need to keep the feet to the fire and get the outcome that we want. So whether we're not in the position of actually having to look at what we have told everyone will happen. So let's just keep focused, keep doing what we've been doing, and get that work done, and then we'll cross the bridge when we need to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Buchanan. I could not concur more. Councillor Asmussen.
Yes, on a non-transit, I think we're missing something here that we should be adding into our needs. The definition of the structural deficit should be fixed. It does not include maintaining existing service levels that TransLink previously provided. An example of this, the current levels of local government cost share programs are not included as part of the structural deficit, and Metro Vancouver cities rely on this cost share program to deliver walking, cycling, and road projects. Secondly, a 400% increase in local government cost share is supported, but require higher cost share from TransLink, as cities will not have the ability to come up with the matching funds.
Point of order, can we just stick to the report? And I think if Ms.
It's in the report. It's part of the.
Okay.
Can we get an information report back around the cost sharing of the program?
I'll ask Councillor Asmussen to ask his question. We'll get a response from staff. If there needs to be further follow-up, we'll have that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, please, if you have a question, ask it.
That was the question.
Okay, staff?
It is accurate that the cost share, the funding that we provide for municipalities to invest in cycling and walking and improving road share on an annual basis is not included in the structural deficit for program funding. I believe it's 2026 and beyond. That could move what that would do, but it is included in that access for everyone. So if we change that, it would simply, if you look at this chart, it would simply make that greenish bar a little bit smaller and the white structural deficit a little bit bigger. But the total amount of funding would still be required because those programs are accounted for in our outline of the amount of funding that's needed to keep the region on meeting the needs of the region.
My only reason for this is that making sure that we ask for the full amount that we need, because we've been short over the years for a long time. And we need to fund everything properly from the federal and provincial governments.
What I heard is it's included, correct? 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Is that a way of putting this?
It's outlined in this scope as part of advancing the Access for Everyone plan, meeting the needs, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'll see no further speakers. Does someone want to move the recommendation? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. All right, motion to adjourn. Move second. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. We'll take 5 minutes and then we'll resume in closed session. Thank you.